¿Qué tal? Bienvenidos nuevamente a la Comisión Nacional de Hidrocarburos. En unos momentos dará inicio la 73ª sesión extraordinaria de 2016 del órgano de gobierno. En esta ocasión, el orden del día contiene 2 asuntos para autorización y 3 asuntos para conocimiento. En primer término, se hará del conocimiento del órgano de gobierno el proyecto de contrato de comercialización de los hidrocarburos del Estado para efectos de que se instruya su inscripción. En segundo lugar, se presenta una propuesta de modificaciones al reglamento interno de la CNH. En cuanto a los asuntos para conocimiento, se presenta, en conocimientos, la guía para la atención del protocolo de actuación en materia de contrataciones públicas. Soy Carla Gabriela González, secretaria ejecutiva de la Comisión, y con esta agenda los esperamos en unos momentos más en la transmisión en vivo de la 73ª sesión extraordinaria de 2016 del órgano de gobierno de la Comisión Nacional de Hidrocarburos. Hasta entonces.
Buenos días, son las 11:36 de este 8 de diciembre de 2016. Damos inicio a la 73ª sesión extraordinaria del órgano de gobierno de la Comisión Nacional de Hidrocarburos. Secretaria ejecutiva Carla Gabriela González, pregunta
Buenos días. Para tal efecto pido
I
a los
ask the
comisionados que en base de lista
commissioners
se
to
sirvan
mention
mencionar
their
su nombre
name
completo y su
and their
calidad de
commissioner
comisionado.
status.
Juan Carlos
Cepeda, Commissioner President. Alma América Porres, present. Néstor Martínez, Commissioner present. Héctor Acosta, Commissioner present. Héctor Moreira, Commissioner present. Gaspar Franco, Commissioner. In view of the presence of 6 commissioners of the governing body, I inform that under Article 10 of the energy regulating bodies, we have quorum, and I hereby call to order this session. Please read the agenda for the session. The agenda is the following. The agenda approval, issues for authorization. Here we have 2 items. The first is signing of the state-owned hydrocarbon trading contract, and number 2, amendments to the internal regulations of this commission. The third issue for information issues, number 1, guidelines for public acquisitions. Number 2, white papers for first and second calls of round 1. And number 3, International Anti-Corruption Day. I submit this agenda for your approval. Do you have any comments? If you agree, please do so by raising your hand. The agenda is unanimously approved. We go for the authorization issues. The first issue is the contract signing, and with the permission of the Commissioner President, I give the floor to Ms. Teresa Gallegos. Good morning, Commissioners, Executive Secretary. In this matter, we want to present the final draft of the trading contract that we want to submit through the Commission and Pemex International, derived from the decree from December 2013 from the energy reform. The hydrocarbon extraction and exploration were established. The way that it's presented is that hydrocarbons should be delivered to the trader. The provisional Article 8 establishes that once this act starts being current, Pemex can be awarded a contract as well as any other subsidiary. It will not take longer than 2017. As a background, the Mexican Petroleum Fund asked us to create a contract for a trader, and Commissioner Acosta coordinated the work for the draft of this contract. And in it, the participants were the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Finance, and this commission. And there were different sessions for this interagency group, and the governing body approved through an agreement in 2016 to award a contract to PMI for hydrocarbon trading. The legal unit was instructed to create a contract on the basis with transitory Article 8. The contract has the aims of the trading services. There are two types of trading services: simple trading and logistic trading. The terms and conditions of these services are to be provided in the trading protocols, and they establish the information on the contracted area, and there will be a trading protocol for each contracted area, as well as nominations, the volume, as well as point of delivery, the type of services, the sale points, and rules for nomination, logistics, rules for pricing, insurance, remuneration, and some other terms as well. Once the legal unit was given the instruction to draft this contract, Commissioner Acosta helped us to coordinate these sessions. As a result, we have these 2 points that we want to include in the draft, and one of it is that in nomination protocols is established that Commission may modify the corresponding protocols when there are conditions that affect national sovereignty or energy security in this country or national security. In that case, the trader costs will be covered by the Commission. And in clause 21, the norms, we specify the mechanism for consulting directly so that we can find a settlement for disputes between parties, and we hereby eliminate the possibility of settlement through a tribunal, and we also include arbitration that will take place in Mexico City in accordance with the arbitration guidelines from the International Chamber of Commerce, and this will be carried out through the Mexican legislation, and this will be carried out in Spanish, and we therefore present the draft of the agreement. We suggest that we submit for the knowledge of the governing body this draft, and we authorize the head of the legal unit to make the amendments that need to be necessary, so long as they're not substantial, and the Direction General of Contracts is instructed to submit to the governing body this contract. Commissioner, I just want to give a general context of what we will be passing. According to the Hydrocarbon Act, we have 3 types of contracts: licensing, shared production, and services. When we're talking about shared production, the contractor delivers physically hydrocarbons to the state, so that the state, through a trader, can deliver hydrocarbons. This is the only type of contract where hydrocarbons are delivered to the state, and it's the only way that hydrocarbons can be treated. And now we have operating traders, and it has been under bidding 1, 2, and 4, and only in recent biddings we had a shared production contract. In recent biddings, because they are bidding for exploration, it will take long for trading, but in extraction biddings, our plans for exploration and assessments that have been approved, we think that on the first trimester of 2017, we will have the first trial production, and according to 4.7 clause of the contract that was signed with the operators, they would have to submit the hydrocarbons that they produced to the commission, and the commission should deliver them to the trader. So this is why it is important to sign this contract, so that we can trade these first production. And that is why the governing body has to know about this contract that we are going to sign with PMI Comercio Internacional, a subsidiary of Pemex, and on behalf of the state, they will be able to sell hydrocarbons. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Moreira, I have 2 comments. The first comment is on clause 5.5, that the commission will be able to modify the protocols in case that our security is threatened. I'm worried that one of our public officers may say that our sovereignty is in danger, and I think that this should be one of the attributions of the governing body, and I think that we should add in the contract that the governing body should be the one approving this. Thank you. Thank you, Director General. Please take note of this. I want to comment on the alterations on Clause 21, so that parties can start some other type of settlement. Direct consultations did not work for this, and the other mechanism is arbitration. And maybe it's just to correct from singular to plural, and maybe just say that they can start the mechanism for settlement that we are indicated in the following paragraphs. And the other comment is that it would be worth to specify a little bit more the type of trading. We're not trading state-owned hydrocarbons. It's not what is on the subsoil, because it belongs to the state. We're just trading hydrocarbons that we received from the contractors as a remuneration from them. I don't know how the legal phrasing would be, but I just wanted to suggest this. These three comments are completely okay, and I have a comment on clause 28 regarding how current it should be, and it mentions that the contract will be current until December 31st, 2017. And we wouldn't be able to extend it further than December 31st, 2017. And I have possibly two suggestions. Number one, maybe sign in December, and probably for it to finish on December 31st, and then for us to sign on January 1st or the first days of January, so that it's current until December 31st. Or we could try and add some clauses on how it could be renewed in that article, so that we don't stop that contract in the following year in case we sign it in this month with the permission of the governing bodies. I would like to analyze these two proposals. I would like to establish some type of norm, or maybe we could sign it within the first days of 2017, because if it weren't like that, we would have to ask the Ministry of Finance if it is a multi-annual contract, and in that case we would have to ask the Ministry of Finance for permission, and that authorization would take longer. Would take longer than December 31st, and maybe we would have to sign on January 1st. So we would like to take some time to analyze this. I would like to comment on Commissioner Acosta's comment. We will have also productions this year, so we should take this into consideration. And I'm a little worried about something. Yes, the wells that have been drilled have production trials, and that those hydrocarbons should be traded, because like Commissioner Acosta said, bidding 1 and 2 is a shared production contract, which asks for a trader, and those are the wells that are being drilled under those contracts. And next year, the contracts from bidding 2, we have drillings for several wells that need production trials, and some of them will be producing around November or December. We all know oil production, and it could be like that, or it could take longer. And if it's the case that during the first days of 2018 we need a trader, it wouldn't be PMI. We would need another trader, because according to this contract we would have to carry on a bidding so that any other traders can participate. And I would like to ask when we can carry out this bidding process, and in that case the bidding process should be carried out immediately. If not, we should be trying, like maybe Dr. Alma America was saying, maybe try and extend this contract a little bit within the framework of the Hydrocarbon Act. I completely agree. The Hydrocarbon Act states that we should start the bidding process upon request of the Petroleum Fund. And we have been in several sessions with the president of this commission, with officers of the Mexican Petroleum Fund, to try and set dates for this prospective bidding. You are right, Commissioner, we would have to do so within the first months of the following year so that everything is ready. Any other comments? Nestor Martinez, Commissioner. On point 2 of the draft agreement, it states that the head of the legal unit will be authorized to make amendments to the contract framework. And I would like to ask about our other general directions so that we should also see both the legal part and the technical part. I would like to modify that agreement so that the technical part, the engineering part, is also involved and not only the legal part of the commission. General Director, the protocols are basically covering the technical aspect of the trading of PMI for each contracted area, and the protocols will be under the jurisdiction of each technical unit to be validated. And we're also thinking about probably signing those protocols by them so that they are implemented. And thinking about the contract, we will take the opinion of the technical area in consideration on these topics. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Executive Secretary, and with regards to this last comment, I would like to proceed to read the agreements, but I don't know if we should modify them. I don't think nothing will happen if we add just that the head of the legal unit has to previously consult with the technical parts of the commission. Thank you. Executive Secretary, please. Could you read the agreement, the draft agreement? Under Article 22, Section 135 of the Energy Regulating Bodies, Provisional Article 8 of the Hydrocarbon Act, Article 3, Section 3 of the Hydrocarbon Revenue Act, as well as the internal regulations of this commission, the governing body, under Agreement CNH E-08-2016, dated July 14, submits for the knowledge of the governing body the final version of the trading contract for hydrocarbons under the terms of how it was presented during the session, authorizes the head of the legal unit, prior consultation with the technical units, to make amendments to the contract, the framework contract, so long as they are not substantial. Instructs the general direction for contractions that once this contract is ready, should be signed and submitted to the governing body. If you agree with this proposal, please do so by raising your hand. Thank you, Commissioners. This agreement is adopted unanimously.
Regarding the amendments to the international regulation of the National Hydrocarbon Commission, regarding this matter and with approval of the President Commissioner, I give the floor to Felipe Alamilla, Director General for Regulation and Consultation. Please go ahead, Director General. Good afternoon to you all. The proposal, I will give you a background. Under Articles 28 and 43, the National Hydrocarbon Commission may contract Petróleos Mexicanos, any state of international company, through public bidding for providing the state with commercialization services. And we're talking about the Direction General for Production and Commercialization. In this case, it would be responsible for coordinating all activities related to hydrocarbon commercialization. Currently, the Direction General for Metering is responsible for these activities. But in this case, it is too general for the activities required for the commercialization required for the production sharing contracts. We are going to propose the activities for this Direction General for Commercialization, and we will submit to the consideration to take the necessary steps to create this administrative unit to exert these activities. Instead of having the Direction General for Metering to exert these activities, we will have a Direction General for Production and Commercialization. In general terms, the powers of this Direction General would be in the verification and adjustment of figures, the formalizing mechanisms, the commercialization contracts, for example, and providing the authorities and other units of production information. Also providing the necessary technical elements, and request the Direction General for Contracts the elaboration of hydrocarbon commercialization contracts. A question, please. One of the responsibilities of the Direction General will be verifying the taxes, the indirect taxes that the commercialization of hydrocarbons will produce. The commercializing entity will commercialize the hydrocarbon in the name of the state, and the responsible of this is the National Hydrocarbon Commission. One of the powers will be verifying the figures of these taxes. Is that power considered here? Yes. In the section 2, we're considering the estimation of all fees and taxes and all considerations. This tax could be specified, but it is considered implicitly in this power. Commissioner, what do you think about this? Could we make the specification, please, because it seems that this power could be an activity of the areas that manage the budget, but it is a power that the Direction General for Commercialization will have. Do you agree with this suggestion? Do you have any comment, Director General? That power would be in coordination with the Acquisition Direction General. I understand this is important to clarify because the money concerning the added value tax, it doesn't belong to the accountability of the National Hydrocarbon Commission. So it does not belong to the administrative unit, but to the Direction General for Commercialization. All fees are competence of this Direction General for Commercialization, but the administrative unit make the balances for national accounts. I'm not understanding. Please, Commissioner Acosta, make me understand. Help me understand. Well, here it's let's make the difference between making the estimations and the reports. It seems to me that the Direction General for Commercialization may do the estimations. However, the responsible for the reports is the administrative unit regarding taxes and all main figures in these reports. So the Direction General for Commercialization and my proposal to this governing body, let's clarify and specify that the power would be the verification of the tax resulting from the commercialization, and that the administrative unit reports these figures to the competent authorities. Is this okay with you, Commissioner? I want to clarify the powers of this direction. In section 6 of Article 31 bis, it says signed contracts, agreements, and other legal instruments required for the commercialization of hydrocarbons. You are making a point that the contract will be subscribed by the legal unit. Sorry. We were saying that the powers, we gave powers to the head of the legal unit to make the amendments, not that the head of the legal unit will sign it. In case the contract, the commercialization contract is approved, the Director General for Commercialization will be the one to sign it. Okay. Commissioner Moreira, I'm confused. We're creating a Direction General for two different things. For one side, there's the verification and adjustment of hydrocarbon production, and the other is the commercialization of hydrocarbons. So in one case, we're talking about production, and the other, we're talking about commercialization. And we already have a Direction General for metering. So let's take out powers of the Direction General of metering and give them to the Direction General for Commercialization and Production. So I'm saying that probably the Direction General for metering is already measuring the production of hydrocarbon. It's very important to differentiate this. In my opinion, we have to give this to the Direction General that makes the follow-up to the contracts. Ulises Neri, one of the main aspects of the contracts, the commercialization contracts, are the protocol of commercialization. Here, we measure the quality of the hydrocarbons. The measurement is only an estimation of the reserves of the fields. Volume and quality is part of the process of the main conditioning. So the production issue that is reported by contractual area or entitlement is derived from an estimation that is made by the operator. It has its origin in the formation of the field, and regarding the commercialization, it's based on the protocols of this contract. There's a link between all the life cycle and the figure that is reported at the end. These Direction Generals have to be coordinated to other Direction Generals. In this case, the volume that is going to be commercialized is a technical element, and it's linked to the legal part of the contract. So I am understanding that the proposal of Commissioner Moreira is that the commercializing part has to be on the unit for managing the contracts. But Ulises Neri is saying that the commercializing is linked to the technical elements of the extraction unit. Please, Commissioner Moreira. We're reading that there are two different issues. First, there's an issue of estimation, production, and measurement, and we already have a Direction General for metering, and as part of commercialization is linked to other type of kind of activities. So points 1, 2, 3, and 4, I would leave them in the Direction General for metering and create a new Direction General for commercialization in the contract follow-up unit. So other commissioners have comments? Commissioner Acosta. I would agree on giving the measurement powers to the Direction General for metering. However, measurement is linked to the commercialization activities. And now the commercialization activities have been carried out by the responsible in charge of the Direction General for metering. The responsible for Direction General for contracts carries out administrative activities, not technical activities. It gives a follow-up of the contract clauses and the entitlement sections. So, Commissioner Franco, you were in charge of the technical administration for contracts and entitlements. In this case, this unit, giving this stage of commercialization could take out the balance and would reduce attention to other activities. The commercialization part is that in a contract, we have to monitor that the commercializing entity is commercializing in terms of the contract, and it has to do with the technical part. If we give these powers to other unit, I don't have a doubt that in this National Hydrocarbon Commission we have a good communication. I believe, however, I believe that the head of the unit of technical administration for entitlement and contracts have to give a follow-up to the terms of the contracts and entitlements, not to the technical elements. So, in my opinion, it would have to be a Direction General within the technical extraction unit. Regarding the learning experiences of last year, that measurement issue, the estimations and confirmation of figures, these technical issues are specialized regarding an adjustment of the metering. In practice, this is a very specific technical issue, and it's linked to the production of hydrocarbons. However, this has a fiscal aspect, and this is derived from the production sharing contracts. It has to have a specific follow-up to production in years and months. Commissioner Martinez, please make a comment. I agree with Commissioners Gaspar and Acosta. Are we going to discuss this furthermore? I will give the floor to Commissioner Martinez, and then I will go back to Commissioner Moreira. The technical extraction unit has all the power, has all the technical strengths to give a commercialization contract follow-up. And on the other hand, they are going to manage this new Direction General. This Direction General will coordinate all the, will manage the commercialization contract. So it's very important that this Direction General be in the technical area. So because of the changes that will be made to the commercialization contract, the technical part is very important. the technical part has to be considered for the legal unit to make the amendments. So in this case of monitoring and follow-up of the contracts, the technical extraction unit has the capabilities and the knowledge with the staff that may exert these activities better. The technical administration for contracts and entitlements unit has other activities. The staff of the technical extraction unit, not giving the direction general for the technical extraction unit would weaken the powers and the exercise of it. There is only a group for a specific objective, so it would strengthen the exercise of powers. I see that all the commissioners, or most of them, believe that it has to be on the Direction General for Metering. Commissioner Moreira, I want to separate two parts of my objection. First of all, mixing production and commercialization is weird. Like first, monitor national hydrocarbons production. This is the definition of measurement, of metering. Several of those powers have to be given to the Direction General for Metering. So Section 1 would be on the Direction General for Metering. What is measurement here? So if the Direction General is for measurement is elaborating the commercialization part, is not an argument for me. If you think that the commercialization aspect has to be in the technical extraction unit, I don't have any objection about that. But in the other hand, I believe that there are other things on the commercialization side that does not refer to the commercialization of state's hydrocarbons. We have to consider the commercialization of the hydrocarbons being produced by the contractors. So we have to make this more efficient. So a Direction General for commercialization, I agree in that Direction General, but we have to separate it from the Direction General for measurement. On the other side, we're on the process that we're on the revision stage of all of these, of all the strategies and planning. So we have to specify and make this better. So I would propose that we separate the Direction General for commercialization and give powers to the Direction General for metering. So we don't have an agreement on this, but several of us believe that the Direction General for commercialization has to be on the technical extraction unit, and I believe that the first section regarding monitoring national hydrocarbons production is merely a metering subject, as Commissioner Moreira says. So this section, this power would be given to the Director General for metering. I agree that the Direction General for metering has to have this power. This power has to be given to the Direction General for metering, not for commercialization. And I agree with Commissioner Moreira that we have to enrich the activities of the Direction General for commercialization. Anything else? Ulises? The hydrocarbon production is a metering issue, so we all agree that this first section will be given to the Direction General for metering. There are some reasons that the Director General for measurement, because she identifies that there's a separation between the measurement mechanisms regarding staff and processes and equipments and what is declared as production. I would like the Director General could tell us why this separation. Before that, Director General, I agree with Commissioner Moreira that sections 1, 2, and 3 are activities of the Direction General for Metering. Currently, the Direction General for Metering is in charge of production and commercialization. We're making a division, an administrative division between them. So we're making, we're specifying the fiscal production and the considerations estimations. Currently, the Direction General for Metering has it all. We're looking to divide and to make a specialized division. I'm not saying that we're taking and giving powers, but we're separating regarding the specialization of each Direction General. We're dividing the follow-up and the estimation. So currently, the Direction General for Metering carries out all the production issues, but the estimation of considerations has to do with other activities. It involves vented volumes and reinjected volumes, and all of this has an implication on the estimation of the production. We need to precise this, because reading the current proposals, there is no clarification between the production being sold and the estimated. We have to revise this. I want to make a point. So, the life cycle of hydrocarbons between producing and commercializing, the areas are very linked. However, the procedure, one of the procedures of the Direction General for Metering, the specialized activities of measurement will be for the Direction General for Metering. However, in my opinion, and this year experiences, the estimation of the fees and consideration has to be separated from them. We have to revise this. We all agree that a major division and specification is required, because all the commissioners have to agree. I propose that we don't approve this until we revise it deeply. Commissioner Martinez, please go ahead. Section 5 says request to the Direction General for Contracts. In this case, we have to define clearly the activities of this. In this case, that verb, request the Direction General for Contracts the elaboration of hydrocarbon commercialization contracts, providing the necessary technical elements. The verb is not strong enough. This Direction General for Commercialization has to ensure that Direction General for Contracts does it, elaborates the contract in the best way. So the Direction General has to manage and ensures that the contract has to be made in the best way possible. So if we are going to have more time to revise this and to make amendments, maybe we can amend this section. and separate the activities between the Direction General for Contracts and the Direction General for Commercialization. So please take note regarding this issue. Yes, of course. Instead of requesting, we could propose a draft contract. So with all the foregoing, maybe I propose more time to review this. So I think the Direction General for Commercialization would be the one to elaborate the hydrocarbon commercialization contract. So the one to elaborate this contract has to be the responsible for it. So please read the agreement, considering that this has to be reviewed in another session. So the agreement proposal is that there is no agreement and that this issue will be considered in other session regarding the powers of this Direction General. So the agreement will be to present these amendments in another session. Commissioner Moreira, I would want to request that when the Direction General for Measurement current activities are presented, I would like to be presented the current activities of the Direction General for Measurement. So just to clarify, the next session would be the one in which these amendments would be presented. So the agreement would be that then in the next section, the new proposal will be presented. In that sense, I ask you if you all agree. Please raise your hand to show your vote. So the agreement is registered and also the voting. And with that, we conclude with the issues for authorization and we continue with the matters for knowledge. The first of all is the public acquisitions procedure guidelines. Regarding this item of the agenda and with the consent of the President Commissioner, I give the floor to Commissioner Hector Acosta Feli. Before I would like to introduce our Comptroller, Edmundo Bernal, that is attending today the governing body session. So it's very important that the Comptroller is here and introduces us to this issue and with the new rules of the Ministry for Public Administration. So this regulator is adopting these provisions. So I would like you to make an introduction of these new guidelines, please, and then Commissioner Acosta presents them. Or am I changing the order and maybe you're going to present first? So I changed the order. Okay, I'm going to make a general presentation and then the Comptroller will present the details. So Comptroller, I will give the floor again to the Commissioner Acosta. Please, Commissioner Acosta. Thank you very much, President Commissioner. And I welcome the Comptroller, legally known as Internal Control Body. And it depends of the Ministry of Public Administration. What is the purpose of this issue? The purpose of this is to disseminate the public acquisition procedure guidelines. This is a guide to rule the performance and conduct of the public servants in bidding process and regarding the suppliers, the potential suppliers. We're talking about Commissioner Pimentel. I'm glad that you're joining us. You're very welcome. We're talking about not about the relationship with the contractors regarding the exploration and extraction contracts. It's concerning the conduct code that we have to have regarding the potential suppliers of these National Hydrocarbons Commissions. We're talking about the potential contractors to provide a service or a good. We're talking about computers, water bottles, a consulting. We're talking about the services that the National Hydrocarbons Commission may contract. The National Hydrocarbon Commission has two main type of contracts. The first contracts have to do with the very essence of the commission, that are the exploration and production contracts. Only this regulator has that power, and we're not talking about them. We're talking about the other kind of contracts. The contracts for hiring goods and services. Contracts that any government entity may celebrate. So regarding this, the Ministry for Public Administration issued a document regarding a document that it's a protocol regarding the performance and conduct of public servants. This has to do with the activities and actions that the public servants may do with the potential suppliers. In this case, these guidelines derive from this protocol, and we are adding two aspects that go beyond what the Ministry for Public Administration dictated. So the Commission is assuming two commitments, is entering into two commitments different from this, what the Ministry for Public Administration dictated. So we're going to enter into these commitments on January 2017 instead of March 2017. Also, the protocol of the Ministry for Public Administration regulates the bidding process since the publication of the call to its award. So we're extending this process. So it includes the market research and the elaboration of technical specifications. In my opinion, it is the more sensitive part, and it has the more potential of generating a conflict of interests. In the market research, we defined the potential suppliers, and we believe that we have to establish specific rules. These specific rules, I would divide them into two. One of the absolute forbiddance, in which all servant public may not have any type of contact to any potential supplier or potential contractor or potential bidder. In this case, absolute forbiddance is in the bidding process, from the publication of the call to its award. In that case, there's a prohibition to approach potential suppliers. In the stages prior to the start of the bidding process, there's a relative forbiddance. In this case, the public servants have to be in contact with the potential suppliers for the market research. These potential suppliers may be the ones to provide a good or service. In this case, the forbiddance is relative. They can have contact as long as the meetings are on the National Hydrocarbon Commission offices, and all meetings have to be recorded. And since January 2017, they will be videotaped. In these meetings, there have to be two public servants, and there's prior notification to the internal control unit. So I would ask to Abelardo Garcia to explain the guidelines proposal, please,
Perdón, antes el doctor
before
Moreira.
Commissioner Moreira.
Quisiera más claro, porque
I would like
hablando de
to request
particulares
more
que son
clarification.
diferentes de
We're
servicios
talking
de
about
CNH,
Sí.
pero pues ahí dice
individuals
contrato
different
particular,
than the
cita con
contractors
el
for
que
exploration and
también tengo que
production.
informar, suena muy
So
raro.
if I have
En
an
realidad,
appointment with my stylist, I
particulares
would have to inform
oferentes
this.
o posibles oferentes,
I would like to specify the
porque si no,
potential
está
suppliers,
superamplia.
because the scope is too general. Yes, the protocol and the guidelines make an specification. It's only a presentation. Thank you very much, President Commissioner.
Buenos días, comisionada, comisionados. Tal como lo presentó claramente
As Commissioner Acosta presented,
Acosta, lo que pretendemos en esta ocasión
we're
es
aiming
presentar para conocimiento de este órgano de gobierno
to
un
inform
poco
the
de
governing
detalle acerca
body
de
the
esta
details
guía
of the
que hemos
guidelines
elaborado para la aplicación dentro de la Comisión
for
Nacional
public
de
acquisitions.
Quisiera primero
I
de
would
nada,
like to
comentar acerca de las
comment on
generalidades
the
que
general
componen
aspects
a este protocolo.
of the
Y
protocol,
las podemos señalar en
and we can
cuatro
divide
grandes
them
rubros.
into
Primero que
4
nada,
points.
el
First of
informar a los
all, to inform
particulares al inicio
individuals
de
at the
cada
beginning of the procedure
que los
that
servidores
public
públicos están
servants
obligados a
are
observar
obliged to
el
comply
protocolo al que nos
with this
referimos y que
protocol
puede ser
and that it may be
consultado en
consulted
la
in the
vía de
website.
Internet. Como segundo punto, que este
The
contacto
second
con
issue would be that
particulares que
contact with
mencionaba
individuals must be
el
carried
comisionado
out
Moreira en esta-
that were
en esta
mentioned by
ocasión en
Commissioner
esta
Moreira.
presentación se menciona como particulares.
In this
Sin
case,
embargo, en el
we're talking
detalle de la
about
guía se
individuals,
aclara
but we will, in the
que
protocol and the
quienes son
guidelines,
particulares a quienes les aplica
there
deberán
is a
llevarse a
precision
cabo a
about
través,
these
de los
individuals.
medios de comunicación
Well,
que
it
provea
must be
la
carried out
dependencia,
using the means
o
of
dentro de
communication
sus
provided by
inmuebles.
the
Este
entity or
contacto
within its
podrá ser por
premises.
escrito, llamadas
Such
telefónicas
contact may be
o eventos
written, telephone
presenciales,
calls,
llevando
or
a cabo
face-to-face
siempre el
events,
registro de los mismos,
and must
como
be
lo mencionaba el
recorded.
comisionado presidente,
And as the President
con la
Commissioner
participación y la
mentioned,
comunicación hacia el órgano
there
interno
has
de
to be a
control.
prior notification and
El tercer
participation of the
punto, la
internal control unit.
especificación acerca de las reuniones,
So
visitas
there
o
are
actos
also
públicos que se llevan a cabo
specifications
dentro de
about
estos
meetings,
procesos,
visits, or
que
public
deberán
events.
realizarse con,
So
un control de previa cita,
it has to
habiendo
be
notificados
all
a
of these
superiores
meetings,
jerárquicos
visits,
que
or public
correspondan
events
y
must
al
be
órgano
carried
interno de
out with
control,
prior
y que
appointments and
invariablemente se
notifications to an
deberá
immediate
levantar
superior
y firmar
and
una
internal
minuta
control unit.
correspondiente.
Also, a record must be
Y como
held
se ha
and signed.
mencionado,
And as
ya
we
en un par de
mentioned,
ocasiones, efectivamente, de acuerdo a como
as
establecen estos acuerdos de los
the
protocolos,
guidelines established that as of March 2017,
se tendrán las
telephone
comunicaciones
communications
telefónicas
will be
deberán ser
recorded,
grabadas y las
and
reuniones,
meetings,
visitas y actos públicos
visits, and public events will be
Para
videotaped.
efectos de esta guía, nosotros estaremos
In this
llevando a
case,
cabo
these
la
guidelines,
grabación
the
exclusivamente en audio a
the
partir del
records of
primero de enero estaremos
recordings will
habilitando
be
las salas
made
correspondientes
since
con la
January
grabación en
2017.
audio. Estaremos teniendo registro
So
de
we
todas
will have a
estas-
record of
estas
all
grabaciones
these telephone
y
communications.
cumpliremos con la fecha
We will
que nos
comply
establece el
with
protocolo
the
para marzo-
date
para marzo del
established on the
2017 para
protocol.
la grabación.
Why are we starting on January
Y no en video.
and not videotaping it?
Es un tema de recursos, de habilitación de las
It's
salas,
only a
de
matter
tener
of
salas
resources.
designadas con una-
So we have to have special
los equipos
premises
perfectamente bien
to
diseñados
videotape
para los efectos,
these
no
events,
solamente para la grabación, sino para
not
la
only
grabación
for
de efectos de
videotaping,
una
but
manera-
also for the
de una manera
storage.
ordenada.
Okay, thank you very much.
Si pasamos a la siguiente.
Can we proceed,
Antes
please?
el doctor Moreira, el comisionado.
For Commissioner Moreira,
Aclaración y ya estoy tranquilo, pero creo que sí tenemos que tener cuidado en lo que
we
estamos
have to be
transmitiendo.
careful
Lean
in what
ustedes
we're
el último y vean eso desde el punto de vista de que
saying.
ahorita ve la tele,
So
que
if
todas las
somebody's
comunicaciones telefónicas
looking at
grabadas
this
son así como bastante
and is saying and
Hay que tener que precisar que nos estamos
and is reading that all
a las
telephone
llamadas
communications are being
telefónicas
recorded,
en la fase del estudio de mercado,
she
en
or
el
he
con
can be
un
confused.
posible
So,
proveedor de
okay,
servicios, ¿no?
let's
O sea, ponerlo en el
clarify
contexto de que
that
no estamos
all
refiriendo a todas
telephone
las llamadas.
communications regarding the
Gracias,
potential
comisionado.
suppliers,
Gracias.
not all of the telephone communications that all of us can have.
Estamos hablando es en relación
Commissioner Acosta,
con potenciales proveedores de la comisión.
we're talking about
Solo eso.
the potential suppliers,
como lo
only
señaló comisionado
for
Acosta,
potential suppliers.
el protocolo
And
de la
also,
Función Pública
the
en
protocol of
tiempos
the
de que se
Ministry for
publica
Public
la
Administration
convocatoria, la
includes
CNH es ampliarlo
the
desde estudios de
publication
mercado.
of the call to its award, and we're extended it to the market research. Commissioner Martinez, so the potential suppliers can be also the ones that are have entered into a contract with the commission.
La definición de cuántos son reuniones de trabajo del
So what's the difference
contrato que
between
tienen actualmente
the
y el nuevo.
meetings
Abordar el tema
between the potential
de un
suppliers
posible
and the suppliers that are already in a
posible
contract with the
servicio.
commission?
Si es una reunión de trabajo
So
con
if
el
it's a meeting
ya nos
with
podemos
an actual supplier,
servicio aquí de los micrófonos,
like the one that is providing the microphone service,
si voy
Pero
a,
se grabaría.
no
would it
si
be
es para el servicio que
recorded?
está dando ahorita.
no, if it's for a service that is current. So, I mean, like, it would be like saying that it has to comply with the contract. This would not be recorded, but if the executive secretary is thinking of extending the contract or having a new service in 2017, this has to be recorded, okay? So it has, there has to be a criteria regarding the division and discriminating between one case from another. So, because currently there are some suppliers and there could be potential suppliers.
Lo que
So,
vemos en
we're
pantalla
watching
es a
on
lo que se
screen
refería el comisionado Acosta.
what
Primero que
Commissioner
nada,
Acosta mentioned.
quisiera
I would like
comentar
to comment on,
que a partir, aquí tenemos dos grandes
that we have
cosas. A partir
two main
de
aspects.
lo que la línea punteada,
So
donde
the dot line,
establece la autorización de dictámenes previos. Ese es el
Where
punto, solo haciendo la
we
precisión,
have the
comisionado
prior
presidente, ese es el punto
assessment
en donde
authorization.
inicia la
This
aplicabilidad de
is
este
the
protocolo.
point where
Estas
the protocol is
autorizaciones
applicable.
autorizaciones de dictámenes previos
This authorization
refieren
of previous
puntualmente a
assessments
casos como el otorgamiento de la suficiencia
regards
presupuestal.
cases as
Yo
budget
entendí,
sufficiency.
así entendí
I
del
understand
comisionado Acosta,
from what Commissioner
que
Acosta
nosotros estamos
presented that
extendiendo,
we're extending
nuestra guía,
our
la observancia del
guidelines,
protocolo,
the
inclusive a la
the
investigación de
object
mercado.
of the protocol.
Sí,
Ah, es que
We're
ahorita me
extending
pareció
it to
que
the
dijo
market
que
research.
arrancaba posterior.
It seemed that
Lo
you
que
said
es-
that it would
lo que
initiate
es
with
el
the authorization of the
puntual
previous
del
assessment.
protocolo.
Sí, o sea,
So
el-
the
el
protocol
de función
established
pública
that
inicia en la línea
it
punteada.
starts
Nosotros estamos
in the dot
estableciendo
line,
nuestra guía
but we're
desde el
establishing our
estudio de mercado.
guidelines since the market research.
Exactamente. Entonces, este inicio
So this
para el
beginning
cumplimiento puntual del protocolo
to comply
se da
with
a
the
partir
protocol
del otorgamiento
initiates
de estas autorizaciones,
with the
como por
authorization
ejemplo,
of prior
el
assessments,
otorgamiento de la suficiencia
like
presupuestal,
the budget
posteriormente
sufficiency,
la convocatoria de la licitación
and then the
correspondiente,
call
los
and the bidding
actos
process,
correspondan a la misma hasta
and
la
all the related
suscripción
acts
del contrato.
until its award.
Todos los elementos que
All
están
the
contenidos
elements
dentro del protocolo
that are
serán
in the
aplicables
protocol
directamente
will be
en
applied
este
directly
punto, y como
to this
mencionó
point.
el comisionado
And as
Acosta,
Commissioner Acosta mentioned,
en esta fase, a
in this
partir
phase,
del momento de la
since
publicación de la
the publication
convocatoria,
of the
se
call,
establece por parte de la Comisión
the
una
National
prohibición
Hydrocarbon Commission
absoluta de contacto
establishes
con los
an absolute
proveedores.
forbiddance
Una
to
vez
approach
de que ya
potential suppliers.
lanzamos una convocatoria,
Since we publish a
Punteada,
call,
como marca el protocolo,
so-
es prohibición absoluta.
así es.
Y antes, como señaló el
so
comisionado,
since the dot line,
prohibición relativa con
and
las
after it's
reglas
a
de
absolute
audiencia, cámaras,
prohibition,
Es
and
correcto.
before it's a
Y
relative
esta
forbiddance.
prohibición relativa,
This
como se ha
relative
mencionado,
forbiddance
lo llevamos dentro de la Comisión Nacional de
will be applying the
Hidrocarburos
National
hasta
Hydrocarbon Commission,
el inicio de la investigación de
until
mercado y obviamente
including the market research
documentos que
and the
contienen
elaboration of technical
la
specifications.
investigación de mercados, como bien se
like the
puntualizó
technical
anteriormente,
As we
es-
mentioned before,
pudiera ser una de las partes más sensibles del proceso de contratación.
it
del
is one of the
proceso
most
real de
sensitive
contratación.
parts of the bidding process.
Bien, y bien, posterior a que
So
se tome conocimiento por parte de este
after
órgano de
the governing
gobierno,
body is informed,
estaremos haciendo llegar a todos
we are going
todos
to
los
distribute,
funcionarios por las vías correspondientes, a todos los
we're going to
funcionarios
distribute
con
all
esta
public
guía
servants
para su-
these
para su
guidelines
aplicación.
for them to apply it immediately.
Oficial
Thank you
mayor,
very much.
doctora, comisionada
Commissioner Alma America,
Sí quisiera,
I would like,
yo respaldo la
I
observación
agree
que
with
hace el doctor
Commissioner
Moreira
Moreira's
en cuanto a la
comment
claridad
regarding the clarification of the protocol. I celebrate this, but on the other hand, it's too restrictive. I'm thinking about the telephone calls. So the telephone calls, there will be recorders in each office. Those details have to be precise, or only for communications with the potential suppliers. These details have to be clarified in the protocol and in the guidelines to be complied with in the best way. Because there can be obstacles and maybe some confusions regarding the wording of the presentation and maybe the guidelines. And we have to be very, very, very clear about how we're going to follow these guidelines. So please, Comptroller, I would like to contribute to the clarification of this issue, and specifically for all who are listening to this. The protocol is a group of actions that has the purpose to regulate the contact between public servants and the potential suppliers of goods and services. Second point, the protocol has been already published. It's in the Official Journal of the Federation. And its purpose is, just to precise this, is that the protocol is to make an effort between citizenship and public servants to strengthen the ethics and clarity in the activities regarding to the public service. In this case, there are the guidelines for regulating the conduct of the public servant. There are two annexes. The first establishes the approach rules to contact the potential suppliers and the levels of forbiddance. And second term establishes the rules for the individuals and public servants regarding the relationship between family and work. We already have in the Ministry for Public Administration, we have a potential letter for declaring a conflict of interest for the public servants. The purpose of this is to have another mechanism to avoid a conflict of interest. In this case, the guidelines are meant to help the public servant in how they have to conduct and approach the potential suppliers. Thank you very much. Let's proceed. With this, I would end the presentation, President Commissioner, and I would like to take the point that Commissioner Alma America was making. This is an additional effort from the National Hydrocarbon Commission and all the government entities, because it's a complex logistic and it implies investment and participation of the public investment servants. So, as the Comptroller was saying, it implies that the public servants act within ethic and moral conduct regarding the approach to potential suppliers. So I would make a request, please. In the guidelines that we publish, we have to review it first. So there have to be not only the normative principles, but also the logistic principles. We have to clarify what is market research I presume that there's very clear in the acquisition law, but we have to clarify in which cases and stages we have to observe these guidelines. We have to include the operational part. As Commissioner Alma America says, we have to be very clear about the telephone calls and also logistics. Commissioner Franco. So adding up what Abelardo says, so we are more than 380 public servants in the Commission, and we have to be very clear about these guidelines with them. There's a point where there are cases in which we contact companies and contractors for consulting, just to talk about some issues, but we have to make clear how we have to approach to potential suppliers. So we have to be clear about which meetings and which telephone calls have to be recorded. So if I make an appointment with somebody to make some personal stuff, I have to record it. We have to clarify that we're talking about cases in which we use federal resources. So we have to make an internal communication, including the protocol of the Ministry for Public Administration, all the elements of the guidelines that have additional aspects from the protocol, and also the logistics. And we have to do what Commissioner Franco says. We have to make an internal communication and invite everybody to a workshop on how to proceed on this. And with that, and that also that we're using other timing than the Ministry for Public Administration, the Julio Pastor, Direction General for Communication. Can we create a bulletin about what are we proceeding about how are we proceeding about the guidelines, so people out there know about our protocol, how are we complying with it, and also for the potential suppliers know about these guidelines. Commissioner Franco, as part of the so I would propose that in some session we would handle like a workshop, and that all 380 people would be connected and watch this. So, Executive Secretary, I would like to comment that we're going to start to disseminate this starting tomorrow. So, Commissioner Acosta, you may proceed. I would like to make a point about this issue. So, we're extending the applicability of the protocol to other states and changing the date. So the complex part is in the protocol, but I would like to say something, that the relationship between us and potential suppliers is very complicated, and we have to think a lot about them and the possible events we have to with them, but we can do it, and there are many cases every day. There are several news about corruption due to that the guidelines to regulate this conduct are not that restrictive. We're trying to avoid a situation that could affect what we're trying to build.
No, creo que todos celebramos
that
el
it's
protocolo de la función
a
pública,
respectable
sin duda,
entity.
y tan es así que lo ampliamos en
We're
alcance,
extending
lo
it
adelantamos en tiempo.
in scope
Sin duda va a requerir de un esfuerzo de todos,
and changing the
pero,
dates.
lo más
We're
importante
fast forwarding
de esta comisión
it.
es el actuar con
It's
transparencia
very
y con
important to
rendición de
act
cuentas.
with
Entonces, lo
transparency
celebramos y
and
estaremos todos
accountability.
en el
So
taller
we
y
celebrate
esforzándonos
this,
para cumplir
and we will be
esto
all in the workshop
en tiempo y
and
forma.
make an effort
Bien, seguimos,
to comply with
comisionado
it.
Moreira.
Please, Commissioner Moreira, I have a comment.
Aparte de que creo que necesitamos ser muy claros, también necesitamos ser muy
So we have to be
prácticos.
very clear and very practical. I liked what the comptroller
Maestro
said.
Bernal. El maestro Bernal lo puso muy claro. Estamos hablando de eliminar
The comptroller was very clear. We're trying to eliminate
en el proceso de
any
adquisición
doubt
de bienes y servicios.
in the
Ok.
bidding
Porque
process.
si lo ponemos tan general
Because
como acercamiento a
if
posibles
we
proveedores,
put it
tan
in general
amplio,
terms,
¿y cómo se
as
decide
in
eso?
the approach to potential suppliers, we
Será
have to
que
define
entonces tenemos que
the
darle un
potential
poquito
suppliers.
más acotado lo que
We
estamos
have to
haciendo.
define the
Imagínate, yo
structure
conozco
and
una
what
persona
we're doing.
que, oye, ¿tú no le vendiste
Hey,
nada nunca
do
a
you
nadie? Pues está bien
But
difícil.
did you sell
¿Ok?
something to somebody at all? It's
Nosotros
very
estamos
difficult.
hablando- en general nosotros,
So in general,
digamos aquí, funcionarios públicos, rara vez intervenimos en esto. Entonces, en
random,
realidad,
it's
estamos hablando
it's not that
mucho
often that we
que está
make a
involucrado
point
con
about
el
this.
proceso de
So it's very important to regulate
nosotros
what
tenemos que
public
apoyar,
servants
etcétera, pero si
do
queremos
with
controlar
potential
a
suppliers.
esta gente,
However, we
es
want
más
to
fácil
control
controlar
380 people.
tomando las decisiones y que están
It's
bien.
easier to
Y los demás
control the
entramos
15 that are responsible for the bidding processes. However, I would like to avoid generalities. Please give me an, we have to define the potential suppliers. Let's be practical and let's be transparent. In these guidelines that rule the conduct to approach potential suppliers based on the protocol of the Ministry for Public Administration, let's include that there are no voids or ambiguities
Podríamos generar una parálisis, ¿no?
that could generate some confusion
Los procedimientos.
in the public servants.
Bien. Secretario
Okay,
Ejecutivo.
Executive Secretary, in this case, the matter for knowledge
No obstante, se
won't
toman en
require
consideración los comentarios vertidos por
a
su
voting and the report is taken into account.
El segundo tema de los asuntos para conocimiento es libros blancos de la primera y segunda convocatorias de la ronda 1. En desahogo de este punto del orden del día, con la venia del comisionado presidente, tiene la palabra el comisionado.
I give the floor to Commissioner
Nada más
Acosta.
déjenme hacer en reconocimiento de
I'm thankful for this. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to submit to the governing body this issue. We have finished with the white papers. We have finished with bidding 1 and bidding 2. We've started with bidding 3, and we hope to finish with bidding 4 once the contracts have been signed. And I would like to define what white papers are. The Ministry for Public Function regulates the elaboration of white papers, and they establish according to what they contain that public agencies will make white papers when they think that it's important to sustain written evidence about certain processes. And it's obvious that we're talking about a very important project. And in the second fraction of this article, that if it's considered important, or if it's considered that it has a very important impact according to the National Development Plan, Section 4 says that it's a project that has the aim of good production infrastructure or services that are necessary according to the objectives of the National Development Plan. And I think it's quite clear that these projects, like bidding processes, are as important as these regulations are stating. And these white papers require a procedure that is contained in these regulations, and it says that public agencies should send a list of the white papers that they want to publish following a format that is already published in the website. And we have submitted this also to the comptroller. And I would also want to say that he helped us, that the Ministry of the Public Function, to consider these white papers as important, and they are pertaining to biddings that have been called to. And these white papers have a narrative through 7 volumes, and you can see them in the center stage of this room. And there are 7 volumes in bidding 1 and 6 in bidding 2. And then you have the chronological narrative on the functions of each institution involved in this process. It's not talking only about the National Hydrocarbon Commission. They are talking about other agencies that took part in these processes, mainly the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Finance. These documents contain all sessions, all memorandums, all different proceedings of each bidding, the terms and amendments, contracts and amendments, publications on the official journal of the Federation, and all those stages described in the terms for exploration and extraction of hydrocarbons issued by this governing body. We have several memorandums and 102 memorandums on bidding 2, and they contain all the processes that took place in both bids, all the sessions of the governing body, and they are all contained in these white papers that you can that you have facing you. This process started with the opinion that we submitted to the Ministry of Energy on the contractual areas until it finished when all the contracts were signed. We also show the contract model, the criteria for pre-qualification, as well as bidding terms, and all companies that asked access to the data repository. And we have 1,020 questions asked by bidders and that were answered by the National Hydrocarbons Commission in the first stage. And in the second bidding, we only had 193 questions that are also contained, and also of group bidders, proposals, the rulings, as well as the signing of the contract. These documents are really important because they're available to the public opinion. We want to create a electronic version so that any person, any interested party can look at them without looking at them in just one or another place. When they're all clustered, we make it more easier not only to audit but also for transparency and compliance, and also for information requests arriving to our commission regarding these 2 bidding processes. We have the white papers of bidding 3 in the pipeline, and we are also thinking that since we have 90 days for signing the contract, then we think that a month after we will have the white papers for bidding for, so that we can present the 4 white papers integrating round 1. I would really like to congratulate you on this. It's a great job for transparency and compliance. We have these white papers facing us, and it has all documents and memorandums, all formal documents. Ever since the Commission proposes the contractual areas to the Ministry of Energy, all through the signing of the contracts, it's an extraordinary job, and I would like to congratulate you on this. And these papers are available to the public opinion. If somebody asks about them, we can provide them and they can photocopy them, but our project is to digitize them. And I think that the executive secretary will be able to help us with this, and I would like to congratulate you on that. Commissioner Franco, I would like to congratulate my fellow commissioner, and I would like to ask who made the white papers. Who did it? Was it external personnel or was it personnel from the Commission? I forgot to mention these white papers. It's quite common that agencies carry on bids for doing all these processes, but in this case, my consultants, internal employees, were responsible for doing this, and we're doing this with human resources from the Commission. Well, then congratulations are in order to you, Commissioner. Okay, this is extraordinary work, and we have the white papers for bidding 3 on the pipeline, and once we have signed the contracts for bidding 4, we'll be working on that. That's, like I said, it's extraordinary white papers for being consulted by the public. There is no voting.
So regarding the last item of the matter for knowledge, regarding the International Day Against Corruption, I give the floor to Commissioner Hector Acosta Felix. So you have all the issues of the agenda today. So the presence of the comptroller is that these issues are related to transparency and anti-corruption activities. So it is very important to have the comptroller here to look at these 3 issues. Tomorrow is the International Day Against Corruption. October 13 in 2013, the UN General Assembly met in Mexico, in Yucatan, and signed an agreement against corruption. And this same international entity defined that December 9th would be the International Day Against Corruption. In this case, we didn't want to miss this date, and tomorrow we will have an event in where we want to make an effort to disseminate transparency and anti-corruption activities. We want to explain the protocol and the guidelines and give the first message about the obligations that they have to comply with starting January 2017. And we invited the comptroller to this event and to this session for him to present the new reforms that that have built the new anti-corruption system. We have to be informed about the creation of this national anti-corruption system, as we are a government entity. We're going to make this event tomorrow, and we're making the invitations for the staff. So for tomorrow's event, we will invite external people thinking about some international entity that has some anti-corruption powers. There's no inconvenience on inviting external entities. So, Direction General for Communication, I believe that we could invite some external entities with anti-corruption powers. So we celebrate the International Day Against Corruption. Please, Comptroller. Thank you very much, President, Commissioner. So these three issues that were submitted to the consideration of the governing body are linked with the protocol for the public acquisition. So also the white papers issue, there are also guidelines of the Ministry for Public Administration that define which elements does a white paper has to have. So not regulating white papers would create a large quantity of document. So the procedure was complied with, and the opinion of the Ministry for the Public Administration was that the bidding processes regarding exploration and production matters comply with the elements of importance and transcendence, and also we issue some recommendations to comply better with the guidelines, recommending that the human resources used were internal, avoiding hiring external staff. And regarding that International Day Against Corruption, it's an initiative of the National Hydrocarbon Commission, and it's a bonus in the sensibilization of public servants in these issues. We know that the index of corruption in this country are high, and so we have to be aware and to instruct and to instrument measurements about this. So the Ministry for Public Administration is implementing a new strategy to fight corruption and to implement proper conduct in public servants while complying with their activities and obligations. So we will present tomorrow this new model in the creation of the new system anti-corruption, and we will look at it at all different levels in the government. Thank you very much, Comptroller. We appreciate your participation in this event and that you can present this important reform that the Mexican government has made in anti-corruption matters. And we will present also the protocol. Thank you very much. Any further comments? Executive Secretary, since this is a matter for knowledge, no voting is required and the report is taken into account. President, Commissioner, the agenda has been fully discharged. Thank you very much, Executive Secretary. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Thank you very much to the Controller, Edmundo Bernal Mejia. Thank you very much for all the viewers. Good afternoon.
No paraban de hablar. ¿Cómo se la onda?